Hi, everybody. I'm Deacon Dave, and welcome to Silence in a Year, Day 1. Happy New Year to everybody, and I'm excited to announce that I have the person who came up with this idea, Alicia Soto, who's going to be joining me, I think, for a lot of these episodes, right?
Yes.
And so the title for the first day, Alicia, is God's Voice is Silent. And what word did we select to be our word of the day?
So I chose the word image. Because when I think about hearing someone say God told me, or I heard someone say that they spoke to God or God spoke to them, and I wonder, well, how does that happen? So I imagine that picture of God speaking to that person, and I wonder if other people don't think, well, why didn't God speak to me? Does God love them more than that he loves me, right? And so I have that picture and that image in my mind when they said that.
How does God speak to you in terms of silence?
Well, so I have learned to sit quietly because I can't be distracted to be able to listen to him effectively as I would like to. So I do sit quietly, and that's how God speaks to me.
And I think a lot of people don't understand what the voice of God sounds like because it wells up from inside of us, Alicia. And many people that I talk to, that's exactly what they say is, I don't feel like God is speaking to me. And I think that's what this whole series is all about, is the many different ways within the silence of our heart, nature, whatever that experience might be, God is actually speaking to us in very profound ways.
Right. And I also think that if once you are able to hear God in your heart, then you can hear God in other people. But until you can hear him, you recognize his voice and then you can open yourself up to hear him in other people.
I think this is a good point to make here too, Alicia, that what does his voice sound like? And one of the things I've learned in one of the classes I've been taking, and I believe this to be true, is his voice often sounds like our voice.
I could hear that.
Sure.
I could imagine that him speaking to us, because he speaks through our heart, and he's in us. And I think if you quiet yourself, you can hear that, and it's you in your thoughts and in your image that you're hearing God. So yes, I can see that.
Yeah, so when we're sitting in silence, Alicia, I think one of the important things that we have to remember is that we have to be able to discern what is our own will or our own voice, and what is truly the voice of God. And so as I sit in the silence in my prayer room, I know we both have a prayer room, I know there are things that are from the voice of God because I know they're drawing me into deeper relationship, and more often than not, as much as I hate to say this, accountability.
Right. Sure.
That's when I definitely know it's his voice.
Right. Well, and if it's fruitful, if it brings you closer to God and your relationship with God and those that love you around you, that you know it's God's voice, because God wouldn't tell you or drive you into doing anything that wasn't fruitful and loving.
So I'm going to go ahead and admit this to our listeners that we each came up with a word of the day. Yours is image. Mine was beatitude, which is just like this happiness and this joy, which you just described, right? That things that are coming from God, when we hear the silence of his voice, they're going to bring us to a higher level of joy and understanding of the depth of love that he has for us.
Absolutely.
So do we have a good takeaway question, you think, for our listeners today?
I would ask, have you ever heard the voice of God? And if so, in what form? So sit quietly in your heart and discern that. And if you haven't, how can you open up your heart to hear the voice of God?
So I think that there's two good points there, Alicia. Number one is figuring out, okay, how is God speaking to me? Through what ways is he speaking to me? And then the second is if I don't think I'm hearing his voice, am I truly open? Because without that openness, well, even though the Lord dwells within us, we're not going to hear him.
Right.
So I think the challenge I'm hearing from you is to really open our hearts to the many different ways that God wants to speak to us.
Yes.
In the depth of who we are. So we're going to end with this prayer, okay, from St. Clare at the end of each episode. So here it is. I come, O Lord, unto your sanctuary to see the life and food of my soul. As I hope in you, O Lord, inspire me with that confidence which brings me to your holy mountain. Permit me, divine Jesus, to come closer to you, that my whole soul may do homage to the greatness of your majesty, that my heart, with its tenderest affections, may acknowledge your infinite love, that my memory may dwell on the admirable mysteries here renewed every day, and that the sacrifice of my whole being may accompany you. I'm Deacon Dave. Thanks for being with us for Silence in a Year, Day 1. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.